From Microbe TV, this is a special episode of Immune, an immune booster, recorded on May 5th, 2025 at the American Association of Immunologists annual conference in Honolulu, Hawaii. In these boosters, we get a glimpse of the scientist behind the science. I'm Cindy Leifer, and you're listening to the podcast about the body's defenders against disease. If you like what you hear on Immune, especially these immune boosters, please consider contributing at microbe.tv/contribute. Today, I am joined by Aimee Bernard, who is an associate professor at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. And I really was excited to have Aimee on because she is an outstanding science communicator. I met her because we are both on the AAI Public Communications Committee, and she has done several videos that you should go check out on Immunology Explained at immunologyexplained.aai.org. And she's also really active on social media, Immuno Ninja.
Fun size
I think that's
Ninja,
fun size Immuno Ninja. Just a very cool little name there. But I thought it would be great to have a little conversation because science communication is just so important right now. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start out by hearing a little bit about your career trajectory because it started off similar to many people, but has taken some turns which are really interesting and have led you to where you are now, which we'll get to. So
so thanks. My career is not traditional by any means. I did the traditional thing of biology undergraduate. Then I went and got my PhD in immunology.
And where did you do that?
University of Rochester in Rochester, New York. Yeah, so upstate New York, where it's ideal to study because it's cloudy a lot.
I am well aware because Cornell is right there as well, not too far away.
Yeah, very cloudy. It's beautiful in the summers, but it's very conducive to studying. So got my PhD in immunology, always had a love for teaching and education, and always knew I'd want to be a professor and teach immunology. And I knew that I'd have to get a PhD to do that. So ultimately at I thought an undergrad institution or a medical campus or something like that, but wanted to focus really more on teaching. And so many people had told me, well, you can't just focus on teaching. So I think for me, whenever someone says you can't do that, that is a ticket to that's
challenge accepted.
Watch me. Right? So I did from there I did the traditional thing. I actually did 2 postdocs after that. So my PhD was only 4.5 years. I kind of just nose to the grindstone, and a lot of stuff worked out too, because immunology.
What did you work on?
So I worked on VH434, so a variable heavy chain gene segment in B cells that particularly makes most B cells that express that, the antibodies that use VH434 tend to be autoreactive in nature. And I only looked at humans. I'm weird. My PhD focused solely on humans and B cell development in humans, and I looked at these VH434 B cells in humans with lupus, because you tend to find a lot of more VH434 antibodies in patients with lupus than you do in people who do not have an autoimmune disease. So I compared them, and it seems like VH434 B cells, or those that would express that, are a good model for human tolerance. Because we don't see them used in people that don't have autoimmunity, particularly lupus. So it's a model system, a human model system for human B cell tolerance. So that was my my thesis project, and then after, so I did two postdocs. I thought I'd try out developmental biology. So
not immunology.
Not immunology.
Flies or worms?
So my mom is type 1 diabetic, and she became type 1 diabetic when I was in middle school. So she was early 30s or mid 30s, and which is unusual. Because that's typically juvenile.
Right.
So I always was fascinated with again, like autoimmunity, tolerance, like why did her body decide to, kill off her pancreatic beta cells? So I thought, well, I'll go to developmental biology lab just, for fun. And I did, and after about a year, I was like, I really missed my B cells. In immunology. So then I went to an immunology lab for 3 years after that. And then from there, I took an undergraduate teaching job at CU Denver. And I was teaching 100%. I was like in an instructor role. And I loved it, but I had 4 undergraduate classes every semester. Immunology.
Wait, not a 2 and 2, but 4 every semester?
4 and 4.
Wow, yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. I taught immunology every semester, genetics every semester, molecular once in a while, virology once in a while, advanced immunology once in a while. I also did like a biology internship. It was just a lot. It was a lot, and it kind of burned me out, but I was in an instructor role, so it wasn't like a tenure track promotion role. But it gave me so much teaching experience, but it was too much. It kind of burned me out. So, because it was hundreds of students every semester.
Yeah.
which is great. but email exists.
And they use it.
They use email, which is great that they have questions and they felt like they could reach out, but it's just, it was really exhausting. But from there, I took another kind of weird thing. I went to Children's Hospital for a year and I helped physicians write guidelines for like pathways for like different conditions. They needed someone who could read the science and write the science and understand like the science behind different like protocols for disease. So I did that just kind of to try something new. And what was great about that is that gave me really good experience. So then my next job, so it's just this never-ending train of jobs, was I was hired by my old postdoc boss, John Cambier, who is now like a professor emeritus. He's retired he was a chair at my University of Colorado immunology, I don't know, 25, 30 years, so long. And, it was amazing, but, everyone needs to take some time off to do fun things at the end, right? Or for at least, 10, 15, 20 years. So that's what he's doing now. But I was hired back. He got this really big, like $20 million grant from the campus to bring an human immunology immunotherapy initiative to campus, like to make the human immunology just, world-renowned. So I was helping to coordinate making a human immune monitoring shared resource lab where you could analyze patient samples that have undergone like checkpoint inhibitors or CAR T cells or things like that. We were hiring people that would make new therapeutics or immunotherapeutics. So we got some people that, Terry Fry is an amazing CAR T cell specialist, and he's with us now. And so getting talent like that, we have a preclinical human mouse model that people can use to test therapeutics in before a human model. And then there was an education piece, which was really the part that was exciting to me, because I started to make some small like mini workshops or mini courses for faculty and postdocs across the campus that were starting to look at immunology in their research, but didn't have official immunology training. So they interrogate the immune system, or they want to, but they don't know how, or they don't remember, how it all works. And some of them, I was really surprised. I built these mini workshops or mini courses. I called it I called it fun size human immunology because it was a full amount of immunology, but in like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Like we did 3 8-hour days.
Oh, wow.
I know, but I couldn't get physicians or faculty to come in like for 3 months for an hour, like a class.
Right.
So I was like, take off a chunk of time. So we did like these 3-day, fun size workshops where it was just like we would learn the basics of immunology, and then how it goes wrong. So disease states, and then therapeutics, and all the different assays, and all these different things. And I taught the bulk of it, but I had some other people come in and do some of like the assay things and all that. But it was fabulous. And when I first started it, I thought, well, it's probably going to be just like a handful of postdocs. Like, who knows what's going to happen? And it turns out that it was just majority faculty. Like faculty that, that don't have immune training, but like pulmonologists, like I have this really cool thing I want to study. I don't know that much about the immune system. I can take this 3 days to learn more about it, and now I'll have a better understanding. So it was eye-opening, the demand for immunology training. Yeah. And we offered it, it was free of charge because we were having it be the education piece of this big initiative funding that we got, but was really interesting. And then I ran it many times in a row, and it was just, the demand for it was just off the charts. It was crazy. And I've now handed that off to another colleague, because now I'm getting the other part of my career. So I teach the med students, the physician assistant students. I recently, for 5 years, I taught the dental students all their immunology, but I handed that to the same colleague who's very interested in teaching. I run a graduate student course for immunology, and then the other big piece of my career is now science communication.
Yeah.
So that's where, and now I'm probably shifting a little bit more into the science communication piece. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but it's not traditional. And I think that, for anyone that's listening, if someone tells you can't do that, no one's done it before, or, that's a weird pathway, if that's your passion, then you should, probably try it out, because I think just in science, we put on blinders too much in science. Like we think we have to do, this long, and my path was long. I got my PhD in 2001, so it's, I've had it for quite a while. This journey has been a long time, but I feel like there are a lot of blinders on, and people think you have to do, all this certain path to get to where you want to go, and I just feel like that's not necessarily the case for everyone. I feel like you can be a little bit more adventurous along the way.
Kind of take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves to you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not saying skip a postdoc or something. I feel like if people ask me, should I still get a postdoc if I want to go to industry and all that? I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that, but I think not closing any doors is a good idea. Like, you don't want to close doors, but if if doors open for you, I would suggest you at least look at what's inside. Right?
No, that's good advice. Take a peek
before you're putting on the blinders of the traditional path. So recently I've shifted more in the last couple of years into science communication. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that at CU Anschutz, we have 6 basic science departments. And what we've learned, and I think this is true at all academic or medical institutions, is that the physicians that are in the room with the patient that administer the checkpoint blockade or that administer the CAR T cells, they get all the grateful patient funding.
Yes. That's true.
Which is great that patients are grateful and they'll give money to physicians, but we want to get the foundational science that's underneath making all the checkpoint inhibitors and the monoclonal antibodies and the CAR T cells. We want the foundational scientists to get some of that recognition and maybe some of the money, if at all possible.
That would be helpful.
Because we need that to have more innovation and more therapeutics. Absolutely. And to save more lives and to further healthcare and all of that. So the 6 basic science departments decided to pool a little bit of money and asked me to work with their scientists to write their science for the general public. Mm-hmm. So to take their science and essentially translate it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
into words that are understandable by the general public. So that's what I've been doing for a part of my FTE now, is I will work with the scientists to essentially rewrite some of their information. And we have like a public-facing our whole website is public-facing, but I have a section of it that's specifically for the general public to read about the basic science departments and what's going on in a way that's understandable and I hope to be engaging. I think it is, but in a way that people can really understand the impact of what foundational science is, and not be, I think, confused or turned away. First of all, there are barriers in the sense that we publish all of our science behind paywalls.
Yep.
In journals where most of the time you can't access them, right? Well, then let's just assume that they open up, let's just say that all journals open up all the paywalls. Well, there's another barrier now of scientific jargon.
Yep.
So, I'm going to be honest with you. If you even read titles of most papers, even the title is, deer in headlights for someone who's not a scientist. So I feel like the barrier of the paywall, but also the barrier of the jargon. So the idea is that, we should get rid of at least the jargon barrier, because we know English.
Yeah.
We know the English language. We can translate our science into the English language. And it's funny, though, because it's a skill that is lost on scientists as they train. Because, and I've been talking to a lot of students about this, I will say, please don't forget what it was like before you started grad school, because that's the person you want to explain your science to. Because the person you are now and the person that you will be in a few years is a very different person as far as the terminology and the jargon that you're going to just understand. Jargon is great. It's concise. It allows us to be efficient in our communication. It allows us to, I think, to explain things, in a clear way. But when we use the jargon, we lose all the people out there that don't know the impact of our research. That's another thing I'm trying to do with all these basic scientists or foundational scientists I'm working with, is I think that they should talk about their small wins. Don't wait for 5 years to publish it in, JCI. Talk about the cool things that you're doing every day, or, how are you, how is your research that you're doing, weekly or monthly, how is that impacting the public, or how is that impacting, your journey towards your publication or your ultimate goal? Because I don't think scientists celebrate the small things as much, and we don't tell people about what we do as often, I think, as we should. And I think for some of us, it's like, oh, well, I haven't published it yet, and, I get that, but I feel like the public can't wait 5, 10, 15 years to hear about the amazing things that we're doing and the impact that we're having. Like, they need to hear those small wins or successes or things that are going to make, healthcare and daily life better frequently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like we need to be better.
We do need to be better. Can you say a little bit about how you go about that process where, so you have a scientist, they have their gobbledygook and their jargon. Yeah. Do you meet with them? Do you review what they've published? How do you go about, and do you write articles, or how do you deconstruct what they have, and then how do you present it to the public?
Yeah, so what I've been doing, and I'm not sure that this is the only or best way to do it, it's just kind of what I've been doing. I will reach out to a scientist and let them know that I would like to showcase their work and what they do on our website. And I give them like a list of steps, and I was like, the first step is that you just need to reply, which often that's a 50% attrition rate right there.
Oh, no.
It's like, you need to reply and then just send me a couple of papers, like links to a couple of articles or a research topic or project that you want me to highlight. Mm-hmm. And then what will happen is I will read those, and I will send you like a 2-page questionnaire, and I send them an example of one that I sent to my guinea pig, my guinea pig scientist friend. So they can kind of see the types of questions. So I'll just ask them to explain their science a little bit, and, is there anything that they want me to communicate? Is there anything they want me to emphasize? I also do ask them some questions about their career trajectory, if they had any inspiration or role models, what they do for fun. I haven't added that to our site yet, but I plan to use that content to like humanize scientists, because I don't know that everyone knows that we're human.
And that's why that's why I'm doing these, because it's true. Yeah. It's true.
So that's a part of it. But and I tell them this should not take you any longer than an hour to reply. Like, I'm not asking you to write this. I just want you to give me some of your descriptions so I can kind of see the way that you think about this. And then from there, I will write up kind of like a Meet the Scientist, where I will talk about the research they do. I will emphasize the project or the research topic that they want me to highlight. And then I will send it to them, and I will say, please review this. If there's any inaccuracy, if there's anything that you want changed or edited. And then sometimes it will go back and forth a little bit. Sometimes people like, this is great. It kind of depends. So we kind of go back and forth on that. So that's one of the big things that I've done. The other thing that I will do is I will take a research paper, and I will like one that's mostly that they're recent, and I'll write a summary of it in the I don't like to call layperson. I don't know, for some reason language. I don't like that term. I just like plain accessible language, and I will then send it to them. And this is usually, they don't have to even. I don't even ask them for it. I see that it came out, it's new, it's exciting, I want people to see it. So I'll write the summary, I send it to them. I would like to put this on our website under, I don't call it publications, I call it exciting discoveries. Because I feel like the public won't hit the word publication as a tab, but maybe exciting discovery would. Right? It's all the use of words. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll do that, and then that's gotten, I think, some pretty good traction, highlighting in plain language the discovery. So I do those 2 things.
That's great.
Yeah.
So besides your information that you put out on the website for your medical campus, are there other trusted sources that you think people should go to for things like this? Are you involved in anything like that?
Yeah. So just in the last couple months, I have started working with Unbiased Science. It's voluntary, unpaid. I'm an immunologist. The woman who runs it, her name's Jess Steyer, and she's a doctor of epidemiology, so DRPH. And great. Not an immunologist, and there's a lot of immunology content. Yeah. So I just reached out to her, and I was like, I love Unbiased Science. I've been listening to the podcast. I read your content. You have awesome slides on Instagram that sometimes I take screenshots and use them in my classes. I said, so I would love to, be involved if there's any role for me. And I thought I would never hear back. I was like, because, there's a lot of people that follow that platform. So I thought it was kind of she's like a celebrity in the social media realm. Yeah. And she wrote back and said, we should meet. And ever since then, I've been writing some content for Substacks. And we'll do some of the Substack content will be put into really nice visuals or graphics for Instagram. She'll put them on Facebook. There's a lot of different social platforms, but there's quite a big following for Unbiased Science. And what I think is really nice about that particular group is that we will cite science, we'll cite literature, we'll also cite the Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins or others, probably a little bit accessible platforms as well. But we cite all the science that's related to the topics that we're writing or talking about, just because we feel like people should have access to, and we'll often try to find links that you can actually access without, we don't want anyone to have to pay.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, that platform I think I think it does a really nice job. And I feel like this is another element that I think a lot of traditional scientists don't like to do, is the social media. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, so about, I think it's 65% of people under 30.
High.
It's pretty high. I think that's about the right. Under 30 get their news. And for those of you that aren't, I'm putting it in quotes, they get their news from social media. So if scientists aren't on social media sharing their information, I feel like we're missing the boat, because those young people who are on social media are going to be looking and listening and watching the people that aren't scientists.
Correct.
That are on social media. So I'm trying to add. So I actually on Instagram I'm at Fun Size Immune Ninja, like you said, and I do post content. It's not a big following, but I'm just trying to get myself into the ocean of social media. And there's a lot of good content. There are a lot of scientists. I'll tell you what, there are a lot of young scientists on social media that do a really nice job communicating science. But I wish that more of my older colleagues would consider, adding their voice to social media, just because I feel like that's where a lot of people go.
Yeah. Do you have advice? I find that a lot of the trainees are really interested in science communication. Mm-hmm. Do you have advice for younger scientists that are thinking about going into science communication?
I think that they should start to think about taking workshops or mini courses. This is another thing I do on campus that I forgot to mention. The Colorado Clinical and Translational Sciences Institute, or CCTSI. I'm a co-director of a Communicating Your Science to the Public workshop series, and it's free. And anyone can become a CCTSI member. You just go onto the CCTSI website and you can, fill out a little survey or whatever. But this Communicating Your Science to the Public, it's a 1.5 hour, or 3 times. We meet 3 times, 1.5 hour, all on Zoom. So we have people from all over.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a Communicating Your Science to the Public workshop. So I'm not saying people have to do that one, but it is free and it's remote. And for me, it's over the lunch hour. It depends on where you live.
Yeah.
But there are, I think, mini workshops. I know on social media, I just saw something called, I think it's a platform called Invest in Science that is also doing free science communication workshops for anyone who wants to register. So the demand, I think, is out there, and I think people are slowly starting to meet that need. But I would recommend that they try to take courses or workshops. The other thing I would think about would be dipping your toe into social media, like maybe, starting on Instagram, which is kind of a friendly platform, like, maybe create a little something there and see what happens, because I think that can be beneficial. There are also a lot of sites that you can write for. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of the Science Bites?
I have not. Yeah,
so Science Bites is it's like a blog site, but it's for trainees to write. Okay. They would write it for free. Nobody gets paid for anything. But there's microbites, immunobites, chem-bites, any bite you can think of. So it's called Science Bites. But within it, there are all these different like data bites, envirobites, ecobites, whatever. But you can just, I think, write to. There's some contact on Science Bites, something you would want to write about. And again, people like us are not invited to write there. It's just trainees.
Yeah.
But then they can write and, try their hand out at writing, science communication and writing. And I believe that there is someone that will vet and, read and help.
Yeah, I think that's a barrier, right? Because especially as you go down your training, and as you said, you become more jargon filled, then it's like, okay, I'm not really comfortable writing. And I don't know that very many scientists, myself included, went into this thinking that we were going to be professional writers and writing all the time and realizing, that is a major part of the job. Yeah. So having people who can read and help vet and help edit, I think is really important.
I think that's part of it. I think
invited, you can find somebody, like even just give it to your friends and colleagues or your parents or whatever friends and have them read it, and that will help too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there are a lot of different things that people can do to get involved and to get some experience, because I think right now, if anyone who's training in science communication should be like a mandatory component, because it's just, we can't hide in labs anymore.
We can't afford to not be communicating science.
Right. We can't.
Yeah. So this has been super fun to talk about you. One last thing I want to ask you is a fun tidbit or something that people would be surprised to learn about you.
Surprised. Oh. Okay. So I'm called Fun Size Immune Ninja. Yep. That's my call sign or handle or whatever. I'm 5'2". I don't know. So fun size. I've been told ever since my kids were 12 and everyone became taller than me, that I was like a real adult, but in a fun size package. And then the other thing was that I started martial arts training with my kids 12 years ago. And we all went through to 2nd degree black belt in Taekwondo. Amazing. I have since retired because they're at college now. But it was really fun, and I really enjoy it. So I don't know if is that a fun tidbit?
That's a very fun tidbit. I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So that is a special immune booster. You can send questions or comments to immune@microbe.tv. So again, consider supporting this and all the other science shows of Microbe TV by going to microbe.tv/contribute. Microbe TV is a 501c3, so all of your donations are tax deductible. We really appreciate any dollar that you can send. I'm Cindy Leifer from Cornell University, and I'm at Cindy Leifer or Cindy Leifer, Blue Sky, that's my thing. And my guest today has been Aimee Bernard from the University of Colorado, and your fun size Immune Ninja. Yeah. So we'll put that link in the show notes. So music on Immune is by Tatami. Thanks for listening to Immune, the podcast that's infectious. We'll be back soon.